What is up, everybody? I'm your Legendary Commander, and welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3. In this video, I'm going to show you how to break this encounter with one spell. This will make this encounter trivial at best, and it will probably save the child. Now, I won't jerk you around. The spell is Calm Emotions. It is a level 2 cleric spell, so you will be needing a cleric that is at least of level 3. Now, I know you want to run off, but there are a few caveats real quick. Stick with me for just another minute or so. This spell will literally take every character and make them immune to the charm effect from the lure from the singing. However, there is a minor complication when casting this spell. You will have 10 rounds before this spell dissipates, but the game will continue to run despite you entering the dialogue scene with the child when you first discover the harpies. The character interacting with the child will be fine. Normally that is your caster, because you're going to want to cast this right as you get there. Save it and have as much time as possible. This will make the child immune and everyone else around you. However, the timer is going to click for some of your characters. Some characters will be fine as if they're entering the dialogue. Other characters will be too far away and be considered not part of the dialogue sequence. This means those characters will be ticking away, losing their ability to be prevented from it. So what you're going to need to do is space bar through it as quickly as possible. If you want to see this scene, go through the scene, get lured, and then load back. That's the best way to do this. So you get your scene and then you can skip through it and save your spell that you just cast. It's a level 2 spell. It's pretty expensive at this tier. You can see even after skipping through, I only have about 6 turns on some of my characters. This will be enough though to deal with the problem. Final bit to take note of, this is a concentration spell. Because it is a concentration spell, that means you need to keep the caster of this spell far away from the enemy. Or as much as you can at least. I got lucky here that the harpies missed all the time. And they do really rely on you being lured so they can hit you more effectively. But one wrong hit could break the concentration, so you need to not only protect the child and long enough for the child to get away if you want the child to escape, but you need to protect the caster of this spell by keeping them further in the back. If you can prevent them from getting hit on the first turn, because normally they at least get to go before you, your chances go up astronomically in fighting them. The next thing you should do is not attack the one casting the luring song. Let it keep singing, because it will keep singing as long as you don't bother it. Because it's not bothering you, it will be wasting its turn. From there, dispatch the enemies how you see fit. I prefer to cast something like Sleep, put a harpy to sleep, and then let lei'zel come down on it with a greatsword, because that's an auto crit. However, handling them is at your discretion, and while I go over what I'm doing in this now, you're pretty much free to go if you want to go run off and go play and try it yourself. But otherwise, I'm going to give some helpful tips throughout this fight just to show you how I dealt with it. So as you can see, the first thing they did was attack my cleric. Now, the thing we need to do is target anything that is attacking my cleric and kill as many of them as possible.
Victory awaits.
My goal here is to use my cleric to cast sleep, because my cleric can cast sleep, and any other character that you would have that can cast sleep would be pretty useful, because they can at least put one harpy to sleep. Now the next thing I'm going to do is come down with lei'zel and hit her with a big ass sword. The reason why I'm going to use lei'zel is I particularly don't like to use my spells. I like to actually not long rest every 5 minutes. But you're welcome to use a big spell like Inflict Wounds if you have a cleric or something that can cast a spell. Because while they're on the ground right now, critting on them is great. But instead I do this instead. I do a sweeping strike, hit both of them, and I get a little extra damage on the one that I put to sleep. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to kill it as it rolled low. Now I saw no real need to cast Hex, although I probably should cast Hex, but I didn't in this case. And I'm just going to go ahead and try and kill one of them. At least that's the plan. And of course, in traditional fashion, because I've got it with such low health, I'm going to miss this hit. Thankfully, my spiritual weapon's got my back. The goal here is to reduce the number of actions that they're going to be able to take on their turn. So by even getting rid of one of them, that's that many less times I can get hit. Which means less saving throws, which means less likely to lose my spell. I'm also going to use my shove ability and try to get as far away from the harpies as possible. Because if I can make any of them dash to make their movement, that means they're not going to be able to attack. And because they seem like they want Inquisitor Norel in this case, I'm not going to let them do that. I'm also aiming to cause any opportunity attacks I can. However, apparently running past lei'zel or flying past lei'zel doesn't count. Thankfully, she missed. But you notice the other one can't actually reach me by the position I put myself in. This is helpful because at least that could have been the blow that would have taken out this ability. Here I'm determining another opportunity to really reduce the ability to fight. At first here, I'm just going to attack one of them, just trying to wound it and kill it. But as this round goes on, I realize I can actually take both of them out of the equation without even killing them right away. It's another sleep spell. So since the goal is to get their health low, I finally cast Hex, and then I Eldritch Blast the one that's in front of Inquisitor Norel. Because if I get its damage down, that's great. I can possibly crit it on another attack afterwards. Or at the very least, if I can eliminate that one, I know that one is not going to hit Inquisitor Norel. I do get a little anxious through here, and first thing I always go for on any character is a cantrip, so it's very hard for me to go and look at a spell and go, I'm going to cast a spell, because normally I don't cast spells. I personally believe spells should only be either used in an emergency, or when they'd have their greatest effect. That said, with the Baldur's Gate 3 resting mechanic, you could probably go ahead and just dump spells, which would probably be a lot easier. So I managed to get both of these put to sleep. Now's the time to act. So once again, it's lei'zel's time to shine, and unfortunately her movement for some reason can't reach it, so I used the jump feature to get over to where I need to be, because I can jump further than I can run apparently, for less than my normal movement, and I'm going to strike at this one and hopefully wipe it out in one hit, which of course I do. As you can see, 20 plus 7. You'll notice this one still continues to sing and not bother us, and now we're down to just the final one. This shouldn't be too hard to deal with. Any character should be able to deal with it, and because they lost their turn essentially from being asleep, I get to strike them. Now, I cast a Sacred Flame on them. I probably should have gone up for a melee strike, and I didn't. And that was my fault, but also they do automatically fail any dex or strength-based saving throws when they are unconscious. So I finish it off with Will, and then now it's time to make our attack. Now what I honestly should have done is just ran forward towards the enemy, got around it, and attacked it all at once. But what I chose to do here was a bit of a mistake. I fired an arrow which broke its concentration. The one time when I hit one of these creatures that they lose their concentration is when I don't really want them to lose their concentration. I would have loved for this one to keep singing, but it chose this time to not keep singing. Once again, we use the jump feature to make extra distance because it is much faster to jump and then run at the cost of a bonus action than to just run.
Well, so much for peace.
So for this harpy, the battle is pretty much over. No matter what this harpy does, even if it starts singing again, if it chooses to strike me down first, it will not get the chance to sing again. So the spell is no longer really needed, but we're going to go ahead and keep attacking it, hitting it as hard as possible. The harpy makes a fatal mistake here where it charges me rather than withdrawing and throwing things at distance. And at this point, we're going to proceed to just mincing this harpy. As you can see though, throughout this fight, we basically didn't get lured around watching our characters just run up to the enemy to get hit. We pretty much left with almost all our health, and the only character I think that really took any real damage was Inquisitor Norel, and that's because they basically tried everything to stop her. Hopefully this helped you. If it did, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure to tell your friends. But y'all take care, and I'll catch you next time.
On the victor's path.
Nothing important is ever easy.